Should women's shelters be required to allow men to sleep alongside women? That may seem like a strange question, but it's exactly what some government officials have been trying to do for years. My name is Sherry Laurie. I have the honor of serving as executive director for the Downtown Hope Center here in Anchorage. For years, the Hope Center has fed more than 400 homeless and hungry individuals a day and welcomed thousands of struggling people through our doors. At the Hope Center, we offer hot showers, laundry service, and job training. We even run a small bakery and culinary school that offers the stepping stones from homelessness and addiction to reliable work and community investment. My favorite moments are in the early evening. Women line up for dinner and receive a warm, safe bed for the night. We started the overnight women's shelter a few years back because we noticed a desperate need. I'd watched how, in other shelters open to both sexes, desperate women were sometimes unable to avoid their pimps and predators. Women were often physically dragged from safety and back to the streets. Here, at night, we can give women temporary reprieve. Because of this sisterhood and sense of safety, some women have experienced friendship, laughter, and hope for the first time in decades. We offer around 50 beds, with about 3 feet between each mattress. It may not seem like much, but for some it's a lifeline. We sum up our mission with the motto, hope restored, hearts renewed, and lives transformed. But since 2018, some Anchorage officials have been on a mission of their own. Driven by an unflinching commitment to radical gender ideology, the city has tried once, and now twice, to force the Hope Center to ignore the differences between men and women. That not only forces us to violate our religious convictions, it puts women in real danger. That January, a homeless man who identified as a woman demanded entry into our overnight shelter. We'd served him meals before, and we have since. That night he was clearly drunk, dressed in a pink nightgown, and suffered from a bloody gash across his face from a fight that he was in another shelter that evening. We require overnight guests to be sober. The wound also needed medical attention. I convinced him to go to the hospital, and I even paid for a cab ride for him to get there. Yet, days later, a complaint was filed with the Anchorage Equal Rights Commission. They demanded that we bow to their agenda by allowing men who identify as female into the shelter to sleep mere feet from the women. Again, many of these women have survived trafficking, domestic violence, and other abuse. Some of our overnight guests had just been raped. Forcing them to sleep near any man re-traumatizes them. In the words of one woman we serve, she would rather sleep in the woods than next to a man in a setting like this. Keep in mind, this is Alaska we're talking about. Alliance Defending Freedom represented us in court, and the Commission's initial efforts failed. But in 2021, Anchorage amended the same ordinance to force their agenda. That attempt failed too. Through those court victories, we've maintained the freedom to serve women in ways that align with our faith, including a belief that woman is a biological reality. Anchorage isn't the only place threatening the freedom of faith-based nonprofits like ours. Similar city ordinances and state laws are cropping up all across our country. In fact, the so-called Equality Act, which U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has consistently called a priority, demands that we shrug off common sense and compassion. If passed, it would force privately funded religious organizations like Downtown Hope Center to ignore what we know is best and put the women we serve in harm's way. That's not equality. And we've seen here in Anchorage, it hurts the very women who need our help most.